Joining me now, political analyst Al Gaboro of Princeton Public Affairs Group, who's also the chair of the Somerset Republican Party, and former Assemblyman Leroy Jones, Jr., who's a partner of 1868 Public Affairs. Thank you for being with me.
Great to be having.
So what's the difference between New Jersey and Wisconsin? We both seem to be rocking and rolling in this whole collective bargaining, anti-union atmosphere that people are talking about.
Well, I don't know that there's any stark differences, when you begin to talk about contract negotiations. Clearly the difference in New Jersey, and the governor indicated that, he's not trying to, cut off the collective bargaining process, where, it's much more extreme in Wisconsin.
No, he said, let me out the cage.
He said, I'm not defending the governor. I think that was a little over the top. I think, what he's doing, by those kind of statements, he begins to vilify, and make mockery of, public employees. And, these are hardworking men and women that, that come to work, put in a day's, work for a day's pay. We're now at a very different economic time where, when you begin to talk about the cost of health care and the cost of pension, they're being very excessive on this state. There has to be, some middle ground and some negotiation to pay into that.
Do you agree with that? Do you think that he's vilifying the workers for his own ends?
I don't think the governor's vilifying the workers at all. I think the biggest difference between the situation in New Jersey and the situation in Wisconsin and now what's moving into Ohio is those two words, collective bargaining. The governor's not looking to touch collective bargaining rights. She said he wants to get in there and he's going to negotiate hard. What he is trying to do that I don't think gets a lot of play is he is trying to save union workers' pensions, because if we stay on the track that we're on now in New Jersey, that fund will be bankrupt.
No, he's mentioned that several times on the street.
But Al, you heard the guy say, picking pockets, and that kind of language. Let me out of the cage. I want to come after them. I mean, that's not even good, public discourse. I mean, that is over the top. That is attacking. That is belittling, and that is not gubernatorial at all. And those kind of things just fly in the face of, honest and open collective bargaining negotiation.
Do you think that the hammer's too heavy here?
Yeah, I don't think the hammer's too heavy.
I think is always too heavy. We all know that.
We're not going to go there. We're just not going to go there.
Listen, the governor swings a heavy hammer. There's no question about that. Any governor swings a heavy hammer, but this governor in particular says what he means and means what he says. When he's on the stump, when he was campaigning for the office of the governor, he told people what he was going to do. This isn't a surprise. This isn't anything different than he said when he was campaigning.
And you're saying he's got a good point in saying, it's really time for you guys to contribute.
Well, he's also telling people the truth. I mean, he's telling folks that are in the union, the public employees union, that this is going to go broke. This is unsustainable. The folks in New Jersey know we're out of money. We need to do something about that. And he at least is able to go at the problem and talk about the problem and come up with a solution.
I agree. Okay. I agree that it is, in these economic times, it is time, to contribute. The question is, how much, what's affordable, how can we begin to, rectify the problems we have in the state, So those are the things that we need to focus on, and not, just creating a circus atmosphere before we even get to the table.
Well, wait a minute now. Another subject that came up again in Trenton this past week, those enduring rumors that Governor Christie's contemplating a run for the White House. Harry Martin sat down with the governor to get to the bottom of it once and for all.
When you make remarks like, I could win, that kind of fuels the fire, doesn't it?
Well, I think it's just a statement of fact. I mean, I see the political opportunity, but the fact is, people need to understand this about me. That's not a good enough reason to run for anything. I didn't run for governor in 2005 when lots of people wanted me to do it. People said I could win then. I didn't feel ready. I didn't want to leave the job I was in. I enjoyed being U.S. attorney, and I didn't think I was ready to be governor. It's not going to happen.
What if the party came to you and said, Governor, you're our last hope, you're our only hope?
I'll say thank you very much, but I've got a job to do in New Jersey. I made up my mind.
Not going to happen.
Nope.
Now, when you listen to that, does it sound to you as someone who is really establishing a national perspective, possibly?
National perspective, most of his national perspective has been at the invitation of national folks. Last November, the governor was the leading campaigner on the trail at the request the Republican Party and candidates. I take him at his word. He's not running. He's got a big job to do in New Jersey. He said it 1,000 times over and over again, but it continues to fuel the fire people want to talk about.
Well, it would be a good explanation for why he happens to have such a heavy hammer, so to speak.
You know, they said it, but it's also the job of the New Jersey governor because you're in the spotlight and we're in off-year elections. They talked about Jim Florio running for president. They talked about Christy Whitman. They talked.
You're right.
Now they're talking about Chris Christie.
He loves the attention, and he is.
Well, it's hard to find a politician that doesn't love the attention.
You know, but and you're absolutely right.
You know?
But I think at the end of that segment there, you know, where he, you know, kind of put an end to the, you know, to the rumor, you know, says a lot, you know, about him. He's not ready. And he knows that. You saw in the segment before we were talking about, you know, public employees, you know, just some of the language that he uses and the approaches that he uses. That's not presidential.
Okay, so
all.
if we're going to
and he knows he has to grow.
If we're going to stay local, then don't you think you would want to play nicely with the people here in your yard? So now we've got another tip with the Democrats about, for example, the millionaires surcharge tax, the back to work bills that they thought we were ready to compromise on, but I guess not.
No, you know, you saw the, you know, an attempt to, you know, override a veto, you know, where, you know, he had members of his party voting on bills, you know, before, you know, you got to that point, and then when it came to an override on something that, you know, individuals believed in, they caved. They caved in.
They voted the way they
Al, they
voted the way
They didn't cave in. I mean, here's what happened. They took a vote in January, and some of those bills are very good ideas. And I think a lot of people in Trenton would tell you that some of those bills are very good ideas. The fact is the price tag for those bills is over $600 million that the state can't afford.
They knew that in January.
Well, here's the difference. The governor gave his budget address a month after they voted on those bills in January.
The light bulb went off after the budget address.
And he laid out his program, which every governor, Republican or Democrat, has a right to do in this state. That's what happened.
My friend here really dresses up how they came.
Okay. Now, let's talk about redistricting, because obviously that's going to be shaping the legislatures to come. Now, right now, the Supreme Court Justice Stuart Rabner appointed a Rutgers professor, because we've got, of course, 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, each saying that they want to redraw the legislative districts the way they would like to see them. What's going to happen, and what is at stake here?
Control of the legislature. That's what's at stake.
10 years worth of control of the legislature. It is the
it's huge.
It is the biggest deal that's happening in Trenton right now.
I don't see it playing as hot as the union revolt.
Well, because this doesn't play. This really doesn't play in the public. This is a very behind the scenes.
It's kind of like inside baseball, but very important.
Both parties do this inside. My other hat as a county chairman. I mean, I'm watching this very closely because it will determine those lines for 10 years. It's a big deal.
Yes, it is. Yes,
how do you think this is going to play out? How do you think the decider is going to go?
It's hard to say. I mean, that's you know, that's anybody's guess at this point. Only he knows. You know, we have 30 days. You know, that you know, this scenario will play out, and you know, at the close of this 30-day period, you know, we'll know what the legislative map looks like, and you know, basically have a sense for, you know, what the next 10 years of you know, legislative debate is going to look like.
And there's going to be a lot to debate over that next decade.
Yes, it will.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
If you have ideas about topics you would like to see discussed, please log on to my9tv.com and click on Public Affairs. We want to hear from you. That's all for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. For My 9, I'm Brenda Flanagan. We'll see you next week on New Jersey Now.